keep you reminded of the limit of about 1,300 words for the analysis section. Now, if you're a little over 1,300 words, not a problem. If you're a little under, not a problem. If you're way under, if if it's like 900 words, well,
what if you're over 500? Is that what you're gonna ask?
So, if you're at 900 words,
yeah.
That's 1 or 2 pages of analysis that you're kind of short of.
Yeah, I have the answer key.
Now, if you did type the word count in there, again, no problem. You'll remove that.
I have a photo of it.
Before you turn in the final anyway. So you'll remove all those section by section word counts, and you'll turn in one word count for the entire paper.
Just from start the word count.
Yes. Right.
And then I assume word count goes in.
Correct. So, guys, word count, you don't include footnotes, and you don't include anything that IB commanded you to put in there. So, like if you have section 2, that does not count as 2 words against your word count. Those are freebies because IB told you to put them there. Now, if you've done subsections where you've given each subsection its own little title, those would count against you. But
I have
like I
the
said,
answer key if you guys want to see it.
anything that IB told you to put on here doesn't count against the word count.
I don't know,
Neither do
but I have the
footnotes.
answer key.
I would take that.
Okay.
That's why IB doesn't like explaining
Yeah, no worries.
footnotes. They look at that
Because
as an attempt to skirt the word
this, he
count.
goes,
They figure if it's important enough to talk about, it's important enough to put in the body.
Okay. I was like, thank you, Mr. I'm going to be on that AP Chem test.
No, yeah, 100 probably not a problem. If you're like 100 short, I'd be concerned if you're
I don't
like
know why he's not fucking calling.
350 to 300
He
words
has
short or more.
170.
Because
Like 1,700. 1,700. Sorry.
Like I say, every 300 words is a page.
So he's 1,700.
300 words short, that's
So
a
he's
page
trying to
of
see if that's
analysis
okay.
that could have been in there, and it's not.
He calls on.
She's not.
Giselle?
The maximum word count for the entire paper is 2,200.
Oh.
But it's, I've got it broken down, or IB teachers broke it down into these suggested word counts a few years ago. We took the number of points available per section and kind of figured out the percentage of words based on the number of points. So the analysis section has the lion's share of the points, so it should have the lion's share of the words. Through that process, that's how they came up with 500 words for section 1, 1,300 for section 2, and 400 for
Giving 25-year-old kindergarten teacher.
What if I have like close to 1,700?
Oh my god.
That's a little excessive. You probably want to shave off at least about 200 words or so, because to make the
I gave
word
up on doing my
count,
curly hair this morning, so I just
you're
like,
going to have to shorten either the OPBL, which you probably don't want to do, or the reflection. And the reflection is only worth 4 points, but there's no sense not trying to get as many of those as possible. And if you've only got 100 words left over to finish with finish up the reflection, that's not going to be enough.
Wait, so in my bibliography, it's, if I shortened it like 150, I would have like 200 to 300 for my reflection.
Okay, yeah, and you can probably get most of the points. Yeah, I can't really. It varies on a case-by-case basis, but yeah, if you had a reflection that was 300, 350 words long, you could probably get at least 3 of the 4 points. I'm not sure if you could get all 4 without a full 400-word analysis, but IB doesn't base its thing on word counts.
Propane.
Yeah, and what happens is you count.
Okay, then why
Like,
does there
you
have
still
to be a
count it from the
maximum of
first one, 'cause that way you get
2,200?
like the shortest amount of numbers.
Yeah.
So like wherever is like something that pulls off, you're always wanting to count from there, so you can go like 1.
You won't lose points for having insufficient words in
Would you like the answer? Because you can use it after.
Yeah, you
Me
won't
neither,
get points
but it
just
had the
for
answer key
having,
because I was like, I have a question.
as a consequence of having too few words, you're probably not going to be able to explore the reflection.
And I was like, okay, thanks, my guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's kind of a judgment call. If you think those extra 400 words are better spent, on the analysis, then yeah, you can go with that. But understand you're probably not going to get the max score of the reflection because you just don't have enough words left.
Okay, it'll probably end up just being an extra 200.
Okay, yeah. If you're at 1,700 for the analysis, try and shave a couple hundred words off, like a paragraph.
Okay, and I can also just do that by rephrasing my sentences.
Exactly. Yeah. This usually works for smaller number of excess words, but if there are places
Robert
where
was like really nice to me recently. It was really weird. He was like, let's give you a nice quiet space so you can take your test with no distractions. I'll put you in the chem lab.
Oh,
you can do
that's-
as you need. Take as much
Yeah,
time as
'cause
you
it-
want.
I do that
I was
exactly.
like, why are you being nice to me? And then he was like, you girls are just so much like mature and farther than all these guys in my class, and it's just so nice and refreshing. And I'm like,
Part 1, the Fellowship of the Ring.
If he is an asshole, he can like.
So can I just be like, so like, in his,
yeah.
like, can I just say he wrote a book about the
Sometimes
Liberty
at Casellas
Institute? Can I just say that?
I whip out my lunch and I open and it's like noodles and he goes,
Author
who
of
just
the
whipped out a can of
book.
dog food?
Or with the,
And
What?
he listened to me afterwards and he was like, wait, Dominicus, after class, he's like, I'm so sorry, I didn't mean to be a dick.
okay.
He's like, I'm so sorry, like, I shouldn't have spoken like that. I was thinking about speaking, and this is a good reflection on why I should not do that. And I was like, it's okay.
These things been passed forward. Hold up. Excellent. Yep. Right on.
Sebastian, just give
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll
It just-
donate. I'll donate words.
It just like transitions into a completely different topic for a paragraph.
Oh yeah, this is important. This also has something to do with the
Fun
USS
fact.
Liberty. Fun fact.
This also happened in history.
For the 12th and the 13th, I didn't realize that was,
I think we should go along with that.
it's right in front of a 4-day weekend. So,
We need to get him like brown.
yeah, but it's going to be spent.
What?
Camera's such bad quality.
I'm gonna face the desk. Stop vibrating.
Bam. How is that?
Are you done with that?
So,
How does that
the
luxury
idea is
cultured
that I'll
Japanese
have these
dining
back to you in about
spam?
3 weeks to a month. This takes a while. You guys saw the kind of editing and feedback that I try and give on these. You saw that with section 1. It takes about a half hour per paper. And I've got 140 of them, so yeah, it's going to take a little while to get back to you. But like I said a second ago, I have a couple of I'm taking a couple of days off next week that I actually got from the ID office. So this is my own sub days for a change. Because Weber realizes the amount of work here. So I'll be taking a couple of days off next week, I'll try and get these back to you as quickly as I can. I'm hoping for the end of February, or at the latest the first week in March. Your final draft will be due the week before spring break, the Tuesday before spring break. I think that's March 19th or somewhere around there. When you get these back, the idea is that you'll have about 2 to 3 weeks to make any necessary changes, to write up your reflection, and make sure your bibliography is ready to turn in and all that. So basically, finalizing stuff. You'll have a couple 2 to 3 weeks in March to do that, and then you'll have these in just before spring break.
And then we just write the section 3 to turn with the final draft.
Exactly. Yeah. Those are really hard to do. To do rough drafts for, because it's your reflection on your role as an historian, and so it gets into the historiography, and it's difficult without knowing the process,
fell asleep as soon as I got home at 8
particular
p.m.
process. It's
'Cause I woke
difficult
up
to
at
do
4.
it's difficult to do the reflections. Now, the advice I can give you, look at the sample IAs. They tend to have good reflections. And just remember that it's not a History Day process paper. Okay, on Tuesday I was judging History Day, and I was reminded of this, that the process paper was, I joined with my friends, we decided we were interested in this, so we went down to the library and we found some stuff, and then we went to this other place and found some stuff. That's great for a History Day process paper. It's describing the process of creating your project. IB is looking for an historian reflecting on the historiographical process of looking into your research question. So it's not, I went to the library and found some information. It's like I compared the Orthodox view with a recently published revisionist idea. I noticed that the revisionist guy focused on this kind of evidence, where the Orthodox historians focused on this kind of evidence. So it's again much more about the history and the historiography.
She shakes her head.
Rather
It's so
than
funny.
what you went through to put the paper together. Any questions?
Why are we go? I thought we were quitting. I thought you were wearing blue jeans for
All right, so
why are we going?
today, well, let's see. I've got a PowerPoint on this
blue
demo.
collar man.
It's a little long, but the thing is, it really only goes up to about the summer of 1940. And I know it's June 1941. The fighting in Western Europe starts in Poland in 1939, picks up again in the spring of 1940. Germany invades everywhere. They conquer France, they conquer the Low Countries, and then the next phase would have been the invasion of Britain. Well, the first thing that Hitler has to do is clear the sea lanes so that these big, almost defenseless transport ships full of troops, they're not going to get shot up by the RAF trying to cross the English Channel. So the Luftwaffe needs to take the RAF out. Starting in the spring or in the summer of 1940, you have the Battle of Britain, and that's basically where all the combat in Western Europe is going on for about a year or so. In 1941, Mussolini decides that that he's looking bad next to Hitler. Hitler's conquering all this stuff. Mussolini's like, I took a little piece of France. So Mussolini decides to try to invade Greece, and then gets in all kinds of trouble because the Greeks fight a lot harder than the Italians expected. So Mussolini has to ask for Hitler's help. So the Nazis have to divert their army into the Balkans and into Greece to bail out the Italians, and then that brings us up to June 1941. Your reading for tonight, or for over the weekend, is actually a very short reading. So if you didn't get everything from this,
So bright.
Oh my God. Okay. So we, very short reading, only like 4 or 5 pages. So if you didn't get everything read from for today,
I'll be done in a second.
section 4, you can go back over and look it over the weekend. Okay. Section 5 and Monday will be about the war in Africa and Italy. And so, what factors contributed to Allied success in Africa and Italy during World War II? What were the most significant results of the war between the Axis and the Allies in Africa? And how critical was the Italian front to the outcome of the Second World War? Yeah, this is kind of a cool video. Okay, we're only going to watch up to June 1940, so about 4 minutes or so.
Dude, you're wired, man.
It's gonna bite me in the ass. I don't know when.
Probably when you're mad.
And she'll
Okay,
teach you.
so this is a map of Europe starting in September 1939 or August 1939 and going up to the end of the war. Like I said, we'll stop when it gets to June 1940. You can see where the conflicts are happening. You'll have these numbers of opposing armies, and you'll see those numbers rise and fall as reinforcements arrive or as battles happen and people are lost. It's kind of an interesting map. Now there are some little pieces of narration that pop up every now and again to show you when what's happening in different places.
This morning, the British ambassador in Berlin handed the German government a final note, stating that unless we heard from them by 11 o'clock, that they were prepared at once to withdraw their troops from Poland, a state of war would exist between us.
Oh, it's reversed.
I have to tell you now that no such undertaking has been received, and that consequently this country is at war with Germany.
You see Finland and the Soviets up there that went to war.
Let's just sign if there's one Portugal's just chilling.
Visualize this shit. Let's do it right after this. After school, let's go.
We shall fight on the seas and oceans. We shall fight with growing confidence and growing strength in the air. We shall defend our island, whatever the
Oh,
cost may
fuck, I
be.
still have the what the fuck.
We shall fight on the beaches. We shall fight on the landing
Cam
ground.
Patterson on
We shall fight in the
the weekend.
fields
The Miami
and in the
guy.
streets. We shall fight in the hills. We shall never
His role
surrender.
is this
And if
guy.
which I do not for a moment believe, this island or large part of it was subjugated and starving,
He's like super
and
intense.
our
He's always
empire
on the side.
beyond the seas, armed and guarded by the British fleet, would carry on the struggle until in God's good time, the new world, with all its powers, steps forth to the rescue and the liberation of the old.
You see, I do it. I sit by my mouth. I found your guys' buzzards and I said, get out the way.
So there's the Italians attacking Greece.
Italians attacking Greece?
Hey, fucking Greece.
The Germans coming in to help.
Actually, no, fucking Italians. Leo's there.
I mean, fine shites.
Yes, too. But you know about exchange, what? Studying abroad in the Dolomites and finding that mountain.
Do you want to know a really funny story?
You want to?
Never in the field of human conflict was so much hope by so many. All our hearts go out
They tried to stay neutral, but
When I was getting my residency in Italy, you cannot leave the country if not you lose your residency the first year that you're there. And we're driving, and we were up in the Dolomites because we were going to we were going to northern Italy, and our Google Maps weren't working, but we're right on the border of Austria. If we cross, we would be in Austria, so we're trying to hold on to the edge of the Dolomites while we're still in Italy without crossing the border.
And there's the build-up for Operation Barbarossa.
Enjoy the music.
And Operation Barbarossa begins.
Whoa.
Wait, why did we stop?
Because that's June 1941. That's the start of Operation Barbarossa.
Oh, I see.
What, you just want to watch it to the end? I mean,
It's satisfying.
okay.
I just only see the flood of people just start.
Yeah, actually, this part's not very satisfying because the big greenish gray there is Nazis, but it is pretty satisfying when you see the after Stalingrad, the Soviets starting to push back, and then you see the let's go ahead and watch it. Okay, so we're in June 1941.
You're autistic, those people. Look at it go.
We can go in 2 times speed.
Just
Notice we're only in the middle of July
sirens.
1941 at this point, so the Germans are advancing rapidly.
The music. Yes, it was. The tiny captions in the corner are just like going up.
Maybe they got all of Europe.
Operation Typhoon.
The U.S. just joined. They're cooked.
Oh my god, look at them.
December 7th,
U.S. joined. Immediately.
1941,
Guys, we're so cool as Americans.
a date which will live
A country built on white savior culture.
Thank you, white man.
suddenly and will live
You see an angry ginger king, 65 miles an hour.
Full box? Full box? 200?
It's one. I just had mac and cheese out my pants pocket. My number she immediately blocked. I just took a photo of the lake stock.
Why are we screaming?
Oh my god, I was so wrong.
Okay. So I was right. It does look like this, and then it goes like this. Fuck. I can't draw. No. Guys, I love How to Train Your Dragon.
It's low-key one of the best shows of all time. Should I squeeze this?
Dude, sure.
Should I squeeze you?
Don't.
Okay, in the lower right-hand corner there, you see that German advance into the Caucasus between the Black and Caspian Seas. That's where Stalingrad is, where those rivers are right there. The Battle of Stalingrad is going to be over the winter of 1942 and 1943. That's the real turnover.
Oh!
Here, you just see the Americans just landed in
This is a
Operation-
great video, guys.
We'll talk about that on
Yeah,
This is hype as fuck.
This is
Until you
high.
realize like all these numbers are just people getting fucking
Yeah, until you
killed.
realize like this is like actual tragedy, and someone made like a fucking
And then in all
YouTube
the
short of a
areas without the
video.
numbers, people are dying.
Like someone just made like a satisfying like YouTube short video. Like,
Bro.
it's all because some East Coast guys were, okay, guys. Because FDR did all those like fire shots.
yes.
Okay. Today. Enough
See like this. Bruh. A ship leaves port at noon, has a bearing of south 20.
South 20. Okay, so it's going that way, 29
And then,
degrees.
yeah, it's
So
so it's opening this way.
knots. How many nautical miles? 7.
Like, there's too much going on. Just to use trigonomic functions, like, we're doing too much.
What's a knot?
I think it's just the unit that we have to use just to go across.
Benzene.
When do we ever?
Benzene, which is like a 6 carbon ring. Benzene ring. Okay. You know, yes, they're no. What? What is Nathan doing?
They were for Nazis.
No, I just think it's like a hero story.
The underdog.
The underdog? Actually, I feel like they weren't the underdog. Clearly, they weren't.
No, W
the
Sicily,
underdog.
W Sicily.
Get it? Ted Lasso reference.
Oh,
Oh, what's that?
Wait, Italy surrendered to make them.
They tried to surrender, the Germans wouldn't let them.
That's what happens when you become fascist.
Never eat soggy waffles. That's the only way I know my direction. Because I'm trying to figure out where the fuck the 20 knots goes. Does the 20 knots go on the bottom or across? The ship sails at 20 knots.
6 million, yeah.
So I feel like it'd go on the bottom.
20 knots is velocity, right?
But the point is, okay,
So it's sailing.
I'm doing 37 right now. With 37 with the 20 knots? What does that mean?
It's a
Like,
6 carbon ring.
Am I just supposed to know that?
It's a benzene ring. What do we at Normandy?
Yeah. I think there's probably going to be some sort of like bearings thing.
Oh, 100%.
But like I'm saying, visualize the 20 knots. Okay, so this is how
I wonder how they teach this shit in
and then
Germany.
this 20 knots is like,
Different environment systems.
so 20 knots per hour, so it's
I miscounted.
and then he does that to I do this
Oh,
to
I
all
see.
of our because this is
June 4th.
I see. Okay. Okay.
I think
Oh, an ad.
They throw a commercial up just before D-Day.
Yeah, okay.
It's okay because we also get a loaf of bread.
Sailors and airmen of the Allied Expeditionary Force.
Sweden was neutral. Like Switzerland. Yeah. Germany got something like 30% of its iron from Sweden. So they really didn't give Sweden much of a choice. They said, maybe,
Oh,
you know,
D-Day.
stay neutral.
Oh, full box.
My great granddad's in there. You're one of those numbers.
Type.
He was actually in the platoon that Band of Brothers is based on.
Starting to get spread.
1 million? Oh, shit.
He's flanking, he's
2
flanking.
million.
Oh, these stats are on the left side.
Oh, shit. Yep, it's over.
Sebastian.
GG's, bro.
Ooh, they got France.
W France, W France.
W France.
France played such an underrated role.
Seriously, seriously.
Can we act as sports commentators for this?
Crossing into Hungary.
And another 1,000 gone.
Amsterdam is just on the border.
I like how when we hear sports commentator, we all become British. We're like, and he shoots.
Amsterdam is still Nazis.
Score.
Brussels.
Line up for an invasion.
Bang!
Bang! Quarter 3.
Sweden has become Soviet.
Yeah, just commentate the little like things in the corner.
It's winter right now, there's not a ton of movement, but as spring starts to happen, see more advances.
They're closing in on Germany. Northern Italy is still
Berlin is hanging on by a thread. Can they make it? Can they? No, they can't.
in the Western Front. The Western Front is still continuing contention.
It's okay.
Oh, their numbers aren't going down. Their numbers aren't going down. Look at the 4 million.
Damn.
Holy shit.
Damn.
Just did I guess?
Clip that.
Clip that shit.
We're liking and subscribing, guys.
20 band.
Okay. Germany surrenders on May 10th, and everything's over by the 20th. So, all right. So,
W green.
thoughts or reactions to this sort of video?
It was looking really bad at the start.
They came back. They clutched up.
They clutched up all.
Right, yeah, you can see, like fighting down here in North Africa, and meanwhile a troop buildup up here. Yeah, it's a kind of, global overview of everything. You can't really see the politics or that sort of thing that's going on behind the scenes. You also don't see the impact of bombing on German cities and war supplies, but it's still interesting to see the colors change on the map.
Germany was kind of holding back them on the west coast, like Havana.
Yeah.
That
why were they able to hold them back?
well, if you ask the British and the Americans, it's we don't want to invade the continent until we have enough strength to create a beachhead, hold it, and then be able to start bringing supplies. So basically, they need to build up their strength for a cross-channel counterattack. To listen to Stalin tell it, he would say that the Allies are fighting the Germans to the last Russian. The Germans are engaged. Basically, you got the Nazis and the communists killing each other. Let them do that for as long as you can. So, like I said, Stalin was very frustrated with the Allies for not opening up a second front in the West until June 1944. The Soviets were basically fighting the Germans alone for about 2 years, and he was quite upset that the Allies dallied so long in opening up a second front. Now, when the Allies do open up that second front with the invasions at Normandy, they're there to stay. They'll be able to create a beachhead and then liberate France over the next couple of months. But from Stalin's perspective, that's pretty late. It almost did, and that's one of the questions that you had for your reading last night was the impact of Mussolini's invasion of Greece and Hitler needing to go out or go down there and bail Mussolini out. Hitler was building up his forces along the Soviet border for Operation
bearings, so
Barbarossa.
apparently I'm finding an
It
angle.
was initially supposed to take place in the middle or end of May. But he had to divert a bunch of the German army down to deal with Greece, and that added about a month to the timetable. So they come down here, capture Greece, then go back and redeploy along the Soviet border, and so Operation Barbarossa can't start until the middle of June. By the time the Russian winter set in late December, the Germans were literally in the outskirts of Moscow. Some of their lead elements could see the spires on the Kremlin. They were like 12 miles away from the center of Moscow. That's as far as we got. The winter came in, and they didn't have winter
And this one's
equipment.
68 degrees, so I'm really
Their
confused.
vehicles were not designed
Unless
to
it's
operate
not
in
60.
zero temperatures, and so they had all sorts of
C to
problems,
B, the bearing
and
is right.
that's where the Soviets
A
threw
to
back.
C would be this
If
way.
they had that extra 3 weeks or a month that was spent in Greece, if they had that to launch Operation Barbarossa in May,
So
there's a
80
good
minus
chance
90
that
minus
Moscow would
68,
fall
that's this
before
That's
the winter
22.
set in.
22
So
degrees.
about Russia fighting
So then
against
180 minus
Finland,
22
was
minus
Finland
68.
part of the Axis?
No.
They just wanted to invade them just like because?
Right. Okay, it gets a little confusing with Finland
So the
and
answer
with
says
Sweden.
north to east. So that means it's going
Finland was an
north
independent country.
this way.
It
So
hasn't
maybe-
signed on with the Allies
Yeah.
because it knows it's next door to the
Which I
Soviet
thought.
Union, and the Soviets will, or the Soviets don't become allies until they get attacked. So in 1939,
Like a
the Soviets
tinier version?
attacked Finland. They had already moved into Poland, and then a couple of months later in December, they attacked into Finland.
So then-
Finland resists really quite well for a small country against a much larger one, but the Soviets win by attrition. They can simply take a lot more losses than the Finns can. So they win this, and the Finns are forced to give up about 10% of their territory.
Because if so, then what
When
would we be
the
doing?
Nazis attacked the Soviet Union, Finland launched what was called the Continuation War, where they were not happy with the resolution of the Winter War. So as soon as Germany attacked the Soviet Union, Finland attacked the Soviet Union independently of Germany. So they weren't working together, they weren't allies, but it's
To be fair, I don't know if that 32 is there or not. I was just based off reading. It goes
they're not
the
going
very
to have
from A to B.
a lot of resources to throw at Finland.
So I did it that way.
So
Is
they launched this
northwest.
continuation war. So Finland is kind of fighting on the same side as the Nazis.
Or-
but, like I said, they're not
That's what I'm
allies.
confused about. But
Basically,
maybe
two
that's
enemies
the
fighting
angle
the
above
same-
this one, so then they then
two
add
countries
the
fighting the same enemy.
So 90 minus
at the same
32.
time, but not
32.
war.
58.
Yeah.
Oh my god, Walker, we figured it out. Where did you
Right,
stole
and
my pencil?
Sweden especially was trade partners with Germany. Germany got something like 30% of their iron ore from Sweden. Sweden kind of naturally would have fallen in with the Allies, but Germany was threatening them the entire time. Like, if you sign on with the Allies, we're going to occupy and invade you. And there's really not much that Finland can do. Norway's already been taken over by the Nazis, so has Denmark. Finland's not going to be a whole lot of help. So Sweden, if they don't stay neutral and keep supplying Germany, they're going to get invaded and occupied by Germany, and the iron's still going to take its way to Germany anyway. So they kind of walk a tightrope. Now, during the Winter War, there were actually some attempts by the Allies to aid Finland. There were fundraising efforts in the United States, and Britain and really France took the lead in this, trying to send supplies to
We have to find
Finns.
the difference between
They
the
could cross Norway. Norway hadn't been conquered yet, but
We have to
Sweden
find
was,
the distance from A to B.
about the German
So I was
response
doing
to
this. I was doing
letting,
tangent of
Allied
68
supplies through.
to get
So,
opposite
the
over adjacent.
the Allies were never able to get any
But that's
supplies to what's that?
50 tangent 68 is that the
Okay. Yugoslavia,
I'm supposed to get
there's a
68.82.
whole bunch of partisan resistance movements that rise in Yugoslavia. In the end, the strongest of
I figured
them
out
was
A.
a communist
Okay, we're
group
trying to work
under the
on B
leadership
right
of a
now.
guy named Marshal Rose Tito.
Supposed to get what? 182?
Tito was a communist, but he didn't like Stalin. And he wasn't a Stalin-type communist. So that's why it's the same color as the rest of the communists, but a little bit different color. The rest of these countries that are liberated by the Soviet
Do you see
Union
why I
then
wanted to
become
Yeah.
occupied by the
Yeah.
Soviets, and those become the
You could do opposite over
Eastern
Jason,
Bloc
do
during the
22.
Cold War. Yugoslavia never joins that Eastern Bloc,
So
so
it's
50
technically
divided by-
Yugoslavia is not behind the Iron Curtain. Although because they're a communist country, the U.S.
Or maybe he's wrong.
You need units.
I think so. Check if my mode's in. Oh, but it's in meters, so it doesn't matter. Or I guess you can check if my mode's in degrees. Okay.
And it's in meters.
Why did he try and join the Axis?
So 50 is this. So data. It's
Lebensraum.
not a part of this triangle at all.
Yeah, the living space.
Because we have two separate
all that
triangles.
farmland that he
Could we
then,
use 32 at all?
move German farmers into.
But I feel like
but
that also just argue with the same.
France,
Yeah, hold on, let's see. So
he's not going to
50,
displace
that's opposite.
the French farmers with German ones.
So tangent 22
the
times the
French,
type.
they're not as good as Germans, but they're not subhumans like the Slavs. So, yeah.
That's like
he
There's 123.
he's looking at expanding German territory, farmland, like conquering territory, as opposed to just occupying another country and forcing it to pay for its own occupation. Germany was charging France 20 million Reichsmarks per day to fund the occupation of France. So not only are we occupying the country,
I also don't know if that's the best method of.
Instead of you.
I guess I was just gonna ask you, so it's like the info. So, is the Yugoslavia, did they like make some sort of like agreement or agreement with
2030 number one prospect out of Colorado for football.
Yes and no. I mean, in some cases, they're actually resisting Soviet incursion into Yugoslav territory because they don't want to end up, just liberated and then occupied like Bulgaria and Romania had.
Should I chat to you?
They're actually fighting to keep the Soviets out of Yugoslav territory, even though they're both on the same side of the war.
Okay.
There are also conflicts between Yugoslavia and the
Not armed
What is
conflicts,
180
but,
minus
yeah, they have a pretty adversarial relationship.
180 minus 120.
And Tito lived for a long time. He lived until like 1979 or 80. It was
just
after
seeing.
he died that it was really the force of his personality that was holding Yugoslavia together. Once he died, that's when we started seeing the Yugoslavia break apart into like Kosovo and Herzegovina, Bosnia, and all that. So that happens during the
Wait, so
late
this is the
1980s
hypotenuse.
and, in the early
Oh, were you trying to solve for the other side and that just didn't work?
Others. Okay. Used up most of our time here. So I'm put on the video that I intended on showing today anyway. I'll put the PowerPoint online as well. There's a little bit more on the PowerPoint about some of the politics that are going on. Like one of the most fascinating ones. Actually, let's go through these slides real quick.
All I'm getting to is
Okay, I'll just ask him everything completion on the homework. And I will text you the result. That way you can sleep at night. I cannot figure it out.
Well, yeah, actually, there's a lot to go through here. The invasion of Poland, Blitzkrieg. Right? This, we've all heard the term. It's actually not a doctrine that the Germans came up with. It was a reporter trying to find a word that described this new method of German warfare. And the Germans were like, this is a good verb. The idea is to hit the enemy with everything you've got all at once. Artillery, armor, aircraft, infantry. Hit the enemy with everything you've got all at once, rather than that World War I style where you've got a week-long artillery bombardment, and then the armor advances, and then the infantry, and maybe the airplanes are there. Now, the reason the Germans can do this is they have communications between the different elements of their armies. They're the only major army that has this capability at this time. So their tanks have radios. They can talk to the infantry, who also have radios, and both of them can talk to the artillery and the airplanes. The airplanes were used as kind of a flying artillery. So rather than having to move gun carriages around on the battlefield, and it takes a while to unlimber them, and it takes a while to set them up, all this. Here, the Germans just send up a whole bunch of dive bombers to kind of loiter over the battle area until they're called upon by an infantry or an armor unit, somebody on the ground. And they say, we need help at these coordinates, right now. Drop your bombs on these coordinates. It's no big deal nowadays. That's how air forces have operated since World War II. But At the beginning of World War II, that's a real innovation. Whoa. Whoops. The way that they're another thing that makes this effective is the kind of plane that they're using, these Stuka dive bombers. Now, they only carry one bomb, and to increase the force of the bomb, they'll hold it about 8,000-10,000 feet. Get near their target and then just dive straight down on it. Like 80 degrees. At an 80-degree slope, and they'll just dive straight down on it. Then, when they're about 1,000 feet above the target, they release the bomb. So that bomb is coming down with all of the force of the weight of the bomb, plus the acceleration that you had diving down from 10,000 feet. So in a number of cases in the Pacific, these bombs will go through the flight deck of the carrier and punch their way down into the middle of the ship before actually exploding. These are terrifying weapons anyway, because they're kind of like drones nowadays that can appear out of nowhere and cause a lot of damage. The Germans played into this psychologically. This thing here is a big whistle. Kind of like
2,5.
you might have seen them on cars where you put them on your front bumper and they emit a high-pitched whistling sound that deer can hear, but we can't. And the idea is to make this noise to scare them off. These things are they make noise that is audible to humans.
It's like
that screaming sound that you often hear in World War II soundtracks.
No, it's not.
Where it gets louder and louder. That was a deliberate psychological warfare effort by the Germans, because you've got a whole bunch of these things all buzzing down on you and making screaming sound. It's terrifying. Now, the Polish soldiers, they complained that they never stopped to sleep or eat. They just keep coming. Well, why? Pervitin. Okay, you can see right there, it's spelled a little differently than the way we spell it, but methamphetamine is still pretty clear there. German soldiers would take these by the handful, and this stuff was available over the counter. So they called them pep pills. The Americans called them pep pills. So these guys were on meth. They could fight for 2 or 3 days without eating or stopping to sleep. Of course, when they crash hard, but still, you get a lot of fighting out of them before they crash. So just remember, Blitzkrieg is when you only stop for kittens. Yeah. Guy may be an evil Nazi, but kittens are still cute. Yeah. All right. So I mentioned Death Squads, Sitzkrieg, Winter War. Yeah. Churchill. Yeah, we won't really have time for it, but
scissors
important
beat
to remember.
paper.
Scissors beat paper.
Scissors beat paper.
Yeah.
And it's
Now,
Churchill going like this and Hitler doing his thing.
Okay. Like I said, there's some politics going on behind those changes in numbers and colors on the map.
His special guy thing.
And, when the Germans invaded Belgium, Belgium
with all his heart.
All right, we're out of time.
With all his heart.
Like I said, this PowerPoint will be up
Okay,
on
bye,
the
squad.